Karen Whitmore stood on her perfectly manicured lawn at 6:47 am, wielding a measuring tape like a sword, her bathrobe flapping in the morning breeze as she documented her neighbor's criminal grass height of 3.2 inches. The HOA covenant clearly stated 3 inches maximum, and Karen had screenshots of 17 different angles to prove it. 3 houses down, she'd already slapped a neon orange violation notice on the Hendersons' mailbox because their welcome mat was sunset orange instead of the approved autumn rust, a distinction that had required Karen to drive to Home Depot with color swatches at dawn. The mat would cost them $150 if not replaced within 72 hours. But the piece de resistance was her masterpiece from yesterday, a $500 fine issued to Marcus Chen for installing solar panels without HOA approval, solar panels that had been professionally installed 2 months ago with proper permits. But Karen had just discovered them during her weekly property compliance inspection with her telephoto lens camera. Karen clutched her clipboard against her chest, feeling the familiar rush of authority coursing through her veins. As the newly elected HOA board president of Maple Ridge Estates, she transformed from a part-time real estate agent into what she considered a neighborhood guardian angel. Others might use different terms. "This community will maintain its standards," she muttered, photographing a child's bicycle that had been left on a driveway for more than the permitted 4-hour limit. "Property values depend on discipline." Her phone buzzed. Marcus Chen's lawyer. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm calling regarding the improper fine issued to my client. The solar panels were installed with full municipal permits and HOA architectural approval from the previous board. We have documentation." Karen's grip tightened on the phone. "The previous board's decisions don't supersede current enforcement policies. I've reviewed the covenants extensively." "Ma'am, you can't retroactively fine someone for approved improvements. We're demanding immediate withdrawal of the fine, or will be forced to take legal action." "Let me be crystal clear, Mr. Patterson. This HOA operates under strict governance principles. Your client violated notification protocols, and the fine stands. Good day." She hung up, but her hands were trembling slightly. The Chen situation was becoming complicated, but backing down would set a dangerous precedent. Karen had spent 18 months studying HOA law, attending webinars, and building her case files. She wouldn't be intimidated by some lawyer's empty threats. Her neighbor Tom Wilson approached, coffee mug in hand. "Karen, about that fine for my trash cans being visible from the street." "They were out past 7 p.m. on non-collection day, Tom. The covenant is explicit. It was 6:50, and I was literally wheeling them back when you took the photo." Karen consulted her phone. "My timestamp shows 7:03 p.m. Tom's jaw clenched. "Your phone's time is wrong, Karen. This is getting ridiculous. Rules exist for everyone's benefit, Tom. When we start making exceptions, the entire community fabric unravels." As Tom walked away shaking his head, Karen felt a familiar pang of loneliness quickly suppressed by righteous indignation. She had important work to do. The legal papers arrived on Karen's doorstep with the morning dew, served by a process server who looked apologetically sympathetic. "Marcus Chen, v. Maple Ridge Estates HOA Board," she read aloud, her coffee growing cold as the words sank in. They weren't just suing her, they were suing the entire board for harassment, abuse of power, and violations of state HOA regulations. The lawsuit detailed 17 specific incidents, including fines issued without proper notice periods, architectural decisions made without quorum votes, and systematic targeting of residents through excessive surveillance. Karen's phone exploded with calls. Board member Janet Kowalski was crying. "Karen, my husband is furious. He never wanted me involved in this, and now we're facing legal bills we can't afford." Treasurer Mike Davidson was more direct. "You've lost your mind, Karen. That solar panel fine was illegal, and now we're all paying for your crusade. We need to stand together," Karen insisted during an emergency board meeting in her living room. "If we cave to one lawsuit, every homeowner will think they can ignore the covenants." "Look at this," Janet said, spreading papers across Karen's coffee table. "Chen's lawyer found violations in our own procedures. We've been issuing fines without proper board votes. We never followed the mandatory hearing process. Karen, you've been acting unilaterally. Karen stared at the documents, her carefully constructed authority crumbling. I was protecting property values. Everything I did was for the community's benefit. No, Mike said quietly. Everything you did was about control. The room fell silent. Karen looked around at her fellow board members, people she'd recruited, trained, and guided, and saw doubt in their eyes. Doubt in her. I need some air, Karen announced, stepping onto her back patio. Standing in her perfectly maintained garden, surrounded by regulation-compliant landscaping, and precisely measured everything, Karen felt an unexpected emptiness. When had enforcing rules become more important than being neighborly? When had she stopped seeing people as people and started seeing them as potential violations? Her phone buzzed with a text from her daughter in Seattle. Mom, I heard about some HOA drama from Mrs. Peterson. Are you okay? You sound stressed in your voicemails. Karen realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd called Emma just to chat, rather than to complain about covenant violations or discuss legal strategies. She'd become so consumed with being right that she'd forgotten how to simply be human. The lawsuit was just the beginning. Word was spreading through the neighborhood, and Karen could see neighbors talking in small groups, pointing toward her house. Some looked angry, others disappointed. A few seemed almost pitying. As evening approached, Karen stood at her front window, watching families walk their dogs and kids play in driveways, all technically violations of various noise and activity ordinances she'd been planning to enforce. For the first time in months, she didn't reach for her camera. But tomorrow would bring new challenges. The lawsuit was real, the board was fractured, and Karen had to decide whether to double down on her crusade or find a different path forward. Whatever she chose would determine not just the fate of the HOA, but whether she could salvage any relationships in the community she'd claimed to protect. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but the area code was local. Mrs. Whitmore, this is Channel 7 News. We'd like to schedule an interview about the HOA lawsuit. Karen stared at the phone, realizing her small neighborhood war was about to become very public indeed.